Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. We'll be talking about the NA 133 elections and of course what it looks like as far as the PMLN, Shaista Parvez Malik in the lead. But overall, what kind of a trend does it show for the government, for the opposition as far as these elections are concerned? Of course, there's a lot being said as far as the low turnout is concerned. And the overall trend as far as the political parties are concerned vis-a-vis this by-election. We'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about the PDM, of course, in the meeting tomorrow and what is expected now for a while now as far as the PDM is concerned. What kind of, are we expecting anything new or are we expecting a new date to come out of this meeting? Shehbaz Sharif Saab and his statement as far as the PDM is concerned, all of those things today on Perspective. I have with me Sarwar Bari, who is an election expert. Thank you for joining us today. Niaz Murtaza, who is a senior analyst. Thank you for being with us today. We'll also be joined by Javed Jadoon Saab and a little later on. Niaz Saab, let's start off with you. Overall, let's talk about the NA 133 elections. How do you see, of course, you know, generally there's no surprise in the sense that it was predicted that Shaista Parvez Malik would take the lead as far as this by-election is concerned, considering the situation, her husband passing away, all of that. But overall, how do you see, you know, the difference at this time? Of course, these are not, these are only provisional results, so to speak, whatever figures we have. But how are you looking at the overall scenario as far as the NA 133 election, by-election is concerned?
Well, hello. There's some sort of an echo. Hello.
I can hear you now.
Okay, so what I'm saying, a lot of the competitiveness around this by-election was taken out when the PTI candidates got knocked off because of technical issues. And ever since that, you know, I don't think the remaining two parties, PMLN and PPP, have given it that much attention. You know, no senior, party officials from either side really even visited the constituency to do very high profile sort of electioneering. Because I think there was, you know, this foregone conclusion that PPP will not be able to give much competition to PMLN. It's not clear that even if PTI candidate had been able to run, whether they would have been able to do so. But at least, you know, there would have been a better competition then. But now it just seems like a foregone conclusion. But it just shows, you know, the fact that you know, PTI candidates were not able to, you know, muster through even, you know, the preliminary stage. That PTI is in a bit of a disarray in Punjab, especially
We were also
Lahore.
hearing things like, you know, the government knew that it was on a weak wicket as far as this election, by-election was concerned. The disqualification that happened was as a result of predicting that kind of failure. How do you see those rumors or that kind of talk coming, I think, from the opposition mostly?
Well, you know, I don't know whether those rumors are true or not. I don't have inside information. But what I can comment is, you know, it just shows that, you know, the PTI cannot even ensure that, you know, its candidates know the rules and regulations, what the right laws are, and that they are able to, you know, file their nomination papers accordingly. This is a critical seat. Lahore being, you know, the heart of Punjab, the hub of Pakistan's politics. So I think PTI should have taken this election much more seriously, especially given the setbacks that they had in the by-elections. This was their chance to show that, you know, they have a foothold in Punjab, and a strong showing here would have given them some impetus for, you know, the upcoming local elections. So, you know, it's an opportunity loss for them, and it will mean that, you know, PMLN will be able to, you know, go into the local elections with a bit more confidence. So
Nasab,
it's a
let
very
me come back to you. I'm going to go to Sarwar Bari. Bari sab, overall, you know, is it because of the fact that, you know, after the death of late Parvez Malik Saab, there was, the general opinion, of course, is that this seat is a foothold of the PMLN. It would, of course, it would go to whoever would be the next candidate, this being his wife, all of those things. Do you think those things were responsible for the overall, the way things turned out? I would say to this point, Niaz Saab is saying that we should have seen a stronger, a stronger fight here if, of course, those candidates had not been disqualified.
Well, I think as far as the by-election is concerned, after as Niaz have just said, that the knockdown of the PTI candidate, the contest was primarily between Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz candidate Shaista Malik, who is already MNA on reserve seats, and PPP candidate Aslam Gill, who has been contesting election from Lahore. He is an old and very loyal member of the Pakistan People's Party, and he has never received many votes in the past. In the last election, he got about 5,500 votes, but now it appears that he is giving a good fight. But we have just finished research in the constituency. We met a large number of people in Kachi Wadis and slum areas of constituency 133, and we found out that there was unprecedented vote buying going on in the constituency. Particularly poor people were seen selling their vote for just 2,000 rupees, and of course both major parties were involved in that, but People's Party was much more involved in vote buying according to local people. And if People's Party candidate gets, I think, more than 10,000 votes, that means the people who had sold their vote, they are most likely to vote for the party.
You're saying that if it turns out and the way that it looks like, as far as the other the PPP candidate is concerned, there seems to be, if the margin doesn't seem to be, the provisional figures that we have at this time doesn't seem to be great, and you're saying that if that is the case and that trend continues, then it would be attributed to likely the vote buying and not to any actual position of the parties, so to speak.
We released our report on 3rd December after conducting many focus group discussions with men and women of working class areas, including Kot Lakhpat, Greentown, and Mariamabad. These are the areas where a large number of Christians live as well. And we found that a large scale, unprecedented large scale vote buying was going on. And most people, we had discussion, they said People's Party is much more involved in vote buying than Pakistan.
Because as we understand, I want to come back to this, and I will come back to you. Let me go to...
Both parties were found involved in vote buying. Which is
you're saying it's both parties, and of course we saw there was some video evidence which was then, of course, both parties said that it was doctored, all of those things. I will come back to you. Let me go to Javed Jadoon, who is also with us here in the studio. Javed sir, we've been talking about the NA 133 elections and of the fact that overall the provisional figures that we have at this time doesn't show a great, as far as the difference in votes is concerned between Shaista Parvez Malik and her, the other PPP candidate at this time. Do you think it's, and according to Sarwar Bari Saab, he's saying that we went into the constituency and we spoke to people, and there seems to be an allegation, of course we don't know if it's accurate or not, that there's a lot of vote buying attributed to both parties. Do you think it's that? Do you think, can you comment on this? Do you think that it shows then, rather than really show an actual trend of where the votes are going, what the party position is even in this constituency, it's more to do with the fact that, perhaps people, that there has been vote buying?
Thank you very much, Maruk. I think it's absolutely unfortunate that such allegations have been leveled against. I think allegations are coming from the both parties. And primarily, I think it is the responsibility of the Election Commission of Pakistan to look into it. And definitely action is required if votes are being sold or being bought by both parties. Then I think they are ultimately, at the end of the day, they will be discrediting themselves. Because such allegations definitely such allegations do stick.
And of course, we've also seen the video. I'm sure you've also heard or seen the video evidence that actually was circulated. And then, of course, both parties said that it had nothing to do with the actual situation.
Maruk, I think denial is one thing, but since certain videos are circulating on the social media,
It
and
certainly seems to be
Election
a season
Commission
for videos anyway.
And Election Commission has shown its intent as well that they would be looking into the matter, but I haven't seen any substantive effort on part of the Election Commission of Pakistan, because once elections are held and allegations are not sort of probed into, then I believe that NA 133 elections would be they will become doubtful, outcome would be doubtful, and the both parties would not be willing to accept the outcome of the result as well, because if allegations are there, it would be pretty easy for the losing candidate to say that, well, elections were bought and we don't accept the outcome of the elections. So, but the malaise, Maruk, is that if such a precedent is set in these elections, then we can expect that in the coming elections, when you are going to hold the general elections in 2023, what kind of a precedent is being set right now? Because it is not the local bodies elections, it is National Assembly election, and the whole nation is watching what is happening there. We don't know exactly right now whether these videos are basically substantiated or not, and if allegations are hurled by both of the parties.
That's exactly the point, isn't it? We don't know if these allegations are substantiated or not, and whether the Election Commission should even embroil itself in these kind of allegations is also a question, don't you think?
Maruk, I have seen in the regional countries as well, our neighboring country, where Election Commission is very, very strong, very independent, very autonomous as well, and even on the basis of certain statements issued by certain candidates. I was there, I was posted there for 2 years, and elections were held 2008.
Okay.
And I basically firsthand, because I've visited so many election booths as well, polling stations, and the kind of actions were being taken by the Election Commission over there. I think that was the kind of action we would like to see in Pakistan as well, because if you want to make the election results transparent, fair, acceptable to all the concerned parties, I think Election Commission has a duty, has a responsibility to fulfill and make it sure that such allegations are sort of probed into. And even I think Election Commission has said that if such allegations are found to be true, elections result would be withheld as well, even after the election result is announced. So let's hope that Election Commission does something credible, and I believe that elections to be held in 2023, it doesn't cast a shadow on the general elections in 2023.
Okay, let me come back to you. Niaz Sahab, I think that it's a relevant question as far as, this is just one by-election in Lahore, which, for all intents and purposes, it wouldn't be wrong to say that, it could have been, there was a general expectation that PMLN would win this seat. And it looks like that, Shaista Parvez Malik is in lead, and that will happen. We don't know, of course, and this is a provisional result, I will again add. But the point is, overall, as far as the active, we talk about how active the Election Commission should be in terms of investigating allegations, in terms of investigating video evidences that does come out. That has in this case come out, and choosing which ones to then investigate and which ones not to investigate, which ones are need to be probed into. Those questions, of course, are relevant and of course are up to the Election Commission. But overall, how do you see this situation when you look at, we're very close to the general election now?
Yeah, I think there are serious issues about the capacity and the ability of Election Commission of Pakistan to be able to monitor these kind of community level issues about vote buying, vote suppression, intimidation, and so on. I mean, it's gradually finding its feet. The way it was able to do some investigation in the Daska election. But then, that wasn't about issues at the community level of what's happening before the elections. It was about, the conduct of the ROs and, the election officials, the polling station officials. So it just shows that, the election commission still doesn't have this kind of a proactive approach and capacity to be able to, start monitoring these kind of issues much before the election day. It's so focused on election day issues that it's not able to, fulfill this much bigger role, because obviously, election rigging, etc. It's not confined to just election day. There's this whole series of things that happen, and there will always be
Pre-poll rigging,
allegations about this for a long
yeah.
time. So it's clearly, required that the election commission expands its capacities and be able to look into these kind of things. There are other issues about, election expenses. There are strict rules about how much you can spend. And if you just go into, any constituency, you can see that those limits are being violated. You'd see so many billboards and, advertisements and so on. You can immediately tell that, the small amounts of the limits that are set are routinely ignored, but, the election commission never does anything about it. So it's important that it expands its horizons, and for that, of course, the parliament also has to play a role to push the election commission towards it. Because until these kind of things are taken care of, there will always be questions about how fair Pakistani elections are, how rationally voters make their decision. Is it based on issues, policies, or is it about just money and the Baradri kind of a system? So
Terms
unfortunately,
will take care of any doubt that is cast on the elections.
yeah, and then obviously, of course, the doubts, of course, there are multifaceted. The biggest issue is, of course, the role of the establishment, and how that manipulates it, so that takes the headlines. But beyond that, there are all these kind of issues too,
Let me
which
come
put
back to
the
you.
spotlight on political parties and
Gee, Barisab, overall, we're talking about the fact. Do you think that it's a capacity issue? Do you think that it's a choice that the election commission has chosen not to embroil itself in this, or do you think that it's like Niaz Saab is saying, and of course Javed Saab is saying? Is it about capacity? Is it about the fact that they can't investigate and at the pace that it should have been done before the polls actually take place? And then, of course, it's not just about the actual day, and pre-poll rigging is also another thing we've been talking about.
Well, I think if we can't analyze election commission's performance in isolation. We know very well that in Pakistan, the most serious issue is the enforcement of law.
Right.
Now, the Elections Act 2017, Section 167 and 168 clearly defines if anybody is involved in vote buying or vote selling or offering any kind of bribe, he or she could be sentenced for 3 years. Now, of course, there have been enough evidence available, and Election Commission is expected to take some action against those who have been involved in that. But since in Pakistan we know that the most of our institutions are being completely hijacked by elite, and it's not just our legislation but also our economy. There is a complete monopoly of few families. So, and though those people put their own officials and the postings and transfers are done in such a way that if they play any role in enforcement of law, they could be used in favor of certain people. So elections are not different. Like ROs, the way ROs and presiding officers are appointed and posted. We all know, we have been observing election for a long time, and pre-poll rigging in the form of vote buying, vote suppression, like most of our women are suppressed by their male members. And our law does
Let me
not
come back to
say
you,
much
Bari
about
Sahab.
it.
I will come back to you. Ji, Javed Sahab, do you think that it's generally has to do with, I mean, overall, we've seen, I don't think it's wrong to say that we've seen the Election Commission go head to head with the government on occasion, on various issues. The overall activity of the Election Commission, how would you rate it in your opinion? You think that it's about the fact that it's just, them choosing to step back and look at it, and leave it? Or is it just about the fact that they may not feel that this is that kind of evidence, or these are the kind of allegations that need to be investigated?
Absolutely, Maruk. I think I really don't agree with the notion that institutions have been hijacked. I think we are trying to make scapegoat out of the Election Commission of Pakistan. It is the prime responsibility of the Election Commission of Pakistan to hold fair, free and transparent elections. And they are fully empowered, according to the Constitution, to take actions when required. And when these videos started circulating in the media, I think instead of people asking the Election Commission of Pakistan to take notice of it, it should have been the initiative on the part of the Election Commission of Pakistan to go forward, as you pointed out, in a swift manner and take care of these allegations, because
and even if it show, I mean, there could have been a statement could have come out, a blanket statement of some kind, which could then have said that we have looked at it and we feel that it's not something that we need to further investigate, or it doesn't require the Election Commission to probe further, it's not as credible, or any of that.
Absolutely. And Mark, we always try and find the hidden hands and the role of the establishment, etc., etc. Well, maybe there could be a role by the establishment, but entirely exonerating the Election Commission of Pakistan, for that matter any other institution, of its responsibilities would be extremely unfortunate, because if we need to build the institutions, then we need to put the pressure on the institutions as well, that they need to perform. When I think they have been tried and tested, and so many times they were found to be wanting as well. So why not ask the Election Commission of Pakistan that where is their apparatus, why they are not taking action? As you pointed out, that if these elections become controversial and one of the losing candidates says, well, I don't accept because the votes were bought. I think this is the first time we have heard these allegations.
No,
they were talking about so many other manipulations, but this particular instance of buying and selling of the votes and being recorded on video, I think.
No, so the video evidence has been in the field for at least a few days, if I'm not wrong. Then why doesn't, I mean, if whichever side it's come out on, the other side should have gone to the Election Commission to get, and that didn't really happen. We didn't see that happening.
That didn't happen. Of course, I understand, and the reason I really is beyond my comprehension, that one of the parties should have gone to the Election Commission. But even Maruk, if nobody approaches, none of the candidates approached the Election Commission of Pakistan, it again, you really can't condone the actions of the Election Commission of Pakistan, because they lock horns with the government on several issues, and they try to be autonomous, independent, and when the time comes to be autonomous and independent, they are found to be wanting as well. So let us take the institutions' stronger roots, let them become autonomous, let them become independent, of course, but they need to show the independence as well when the time comes.
Let me go to Niasab. Niasab, do you think the Election Commission, in your opinion, has shown enough independence and autonomy, or do you think that, perhaps it needs to step up?
Well, yeah, I mean, certainly it has shown some improvement over the last few years. The stand that it was able to take on, the Daska elections, then, on the issue of, the undue pressure on EVMs, etc. But, it's still patchy. I mean, there are still other issues that have been pending for the long time. So for all the three major parties, there are foreign funding cases, and it's still not shown any ability to, resolve them, even though, some of them have been outstanding for years and years. And then, this focus just on election day issues and not being able to, look at So I would say it's still got a long way to go. If you ask me to rate its performance, I wouldn't give it more than 4 or 5 out of 10. So it's a long process. Even in India, it took a long time for the Election Commission to become the strong, independent institution that it is today.
So you think it's
But
evolving
still,
then? You think it's doing better than before? It's evolving.
it's involving in some areas, I would say, but it's still got a long way to go. And then, it also depends on, who's in charge. One person comes in and, takes some steps, and the next person comes in and he or she is not so active. So, it's patchy, one step forward, two step backward kind of thing. I would still not call it a very strong independent institution the way the Indian Election Commission is.
Okay, gee, Bari Saab, would you agree? You think that as far as the Election Commission is concerned, it could perhaps show more autonomy, more independence. It could be more dynamic in the way that it has reacted to allegations of voter fraud, like you're saying, voter buying, all of those things. Bari Saab, can you hear me? Bari Saab, can you hear me? No, I don't think he can. Right. Okay, Javed Saab, overall, let's move on to what's happening as far as the PDM is concerned. We've been talking about it for a while. The inactivity, so to speak. There is a meeting tomorrow again as far as the PDM is concerned. Overall, how do you see the situation as far as the opposition at this time is concerned? Do you think that they're just waiting now for the remaining time and they don't want to be too active as far as their opposition is concerned? Do you think, there is a lot that is being said about the fact that even if it was the opposition, they don't know how to deal with wherever we are as far as our economy is concerned. They wouldn't want to be in the shoes of the government. The challenges are so enormous, regardless of whoever is in the power.
Mahrukh, I think PDM has some very, very serious issues and they have not been able to resolve them in the last meeting as well. I think Maulana Sahab is taking a very hard position. He is basically calling for the resignations by the parliamentarians and the provincial assemblies as well. And he believes that without resignations, there is going to be no movement that could succeed against the PTI government. And he believes that if there's a long march without resignation, the long march is not going to achieve the kind of objectives they have been set. On the contrary, I think Pakistan Muslim League does not believe that this is the right time to resign from the parliament and the assemblies. They believe that it would amount to leaving the field open for the PTI, one. Secondly, I think they are probably looking towards certain nods from certain quarters. I believe so.
You think that there is overall a lot of, they want to put a lot on the establishment. They want to put a lot on this signal that they thought had come through before. It didn't happen. With regard to the change of the intent we saw with General Faiz also, whatever happened as far as that announcement was concerned. So that uncertainty, of course, then fizzled out. Do you think it's that then? I think
primarily, I think this is the most important factor which is really paralyzing the PDM. And they are not coming up with a very concrete kind of a roadmap, what exactly they want to do. Blow hot and blow cold, they would talk about the price hike, inflation, etc. Then they shift to other demands of resigning the government, resignation of the government, and then the long marches and resigning from the parliament. I think another important factor, Mahrukh, we have entered into December, and December is not the right month for any kind of a long march towards Islamabad, even not January. And I think they would be postponing it to most probably to March, and they are trying to buy time. Because March means PTI government would be completing almost the 4th year of their tenure. And if they complete the 4th year of the tenure, then the last year is always the election year. Then there is absolutely no reason to put pressure on the government to resign from the assemblies, or rather to sort of force the government.
And we've been talking about the whole stakes thing also. And I think that everybody, even the PMLN leaders and everyone, the stakes are very different for each political party here. With the PPP being in power in Sindh, Maulana Sahab not having those kind of stakes at all, the PMLN, of
I think,
course.
Marak, it is a very, very important point. I think at this particular juncture, at this point in time, if PDM succeeds in overthrowing the government or forces the government to resign and they take charge of the government in Islamabad, so 1.5 years, I think PMLN believes that they are not going to be able to deliver the people want them to deliver. So 1.5 years in power, they would be discrediting themselves because gigantic issues facing the country, economy is in
BJP would
tailspin.
agree.
And there are many, many other issues which I think even the PTI government is struggling very hard to set things in order. So the same people in the PMLN, they do not agree that if they come into power right now, they would be able to deliver. If they don't deliver, then I think the next tenure they would like to have the 5 years tenure, that would be jeopardizing.
And then also
I
the
think this
numbers,
is
I
the
want to
very
come to
reason.
that. Let me come back.
And fourthly, the battle of narratives within the PMLN as well.
Right, I want to come back to that. I will go to Niazab. Niazab, overall, we've been talking about the fact that, of course, this is not the right time for any kind of protest, because what it will yield in the best of circumstances is not something that will probably be favorable for the opposition as far as the PMLN is concerned. Of course, the stakes being different for each political party also is a relevant factor, which they've said so again and again also. But overall, as in terms of the low turnout which is being talked about vis-a-vis the NA 133 election, do you think that it shows, overall a trend of people generally, a kind of disillusionment with the whole political process at this time, which will necessarily not favor any political party, at this time, or even perhaps in the next elections?
Well, I'm not really expecting much to come out from tomorrow's, meeting, because, there was this issue of, two narratives within the PMLN, and now it seems there is one narrative which is, veering towards the position of Shehbaz Sharif, because, if you look at it, for the last several months, beyond one or two, statements here and there, both Nawaz Sharif and Maryam Nawaz have been very quiet. And, if they were planning to, start a major movement, street movement against the PTI at this stage, you would have heard much more from Nawaz Sharif and Maryam than what you are hearing right now. So I think the Shehbaz Sharif narrative seems to have prevailed within the PMLN. And, they are looking at different kind of cues to come from powerful quarters. With all this tension between Pindi and Islamabad on, the notification issue. So I think their big bet or hope now is that, there'll be some sort of change of heart in Pindi, which will favor them. But otherwise, I don't see them, really invested in, trying to dislodge this government through any sort of street movement. It may be more like, no confidence movement if the right signal comes in. But in terms of, the impact on, the electorate of all these kind of machinations, the issue is, they may be disillusioned, but then, there is also the fact that, the people are facing so many hardships and there is so much anger and disillusionment among the people because of them.
Niazab, do you think, let me just interject here, do you think that those people believe that whoever other than, in your opinion, people according to you who are despondent, disillusioned, whatever you may call it, believe that anybody else in power at this time could make things different? Change things for them?
This is the thing, people get disgusted with whoever is in power. And then, there is just a hope that whoever is not in power will come in and do better. So it's not a matter of having a lot of hope from PMLN or PPP, but, the disillusionment with PTI will be so high that it may just become an issue of, anybody.
These are two
PTI.
different things. When I say disillusionment, I mean disillusionment with overall the political process, with overall all political parties, PTI having, this is the first go at governing that they've had, and, with all the other main political parties, if we talk about the PPP and the PMLN, they've had goes at running the country, and, the overall disillusionment, when I talk about it, I mean across the board political parties. I want to go to Bari Saab with this. Bari Saab, do you think that there is that kind of the mood of the people, so to speak, is overall low, not with one political party, but with all political parties across the board?
Well, if I look at the history of Pakistan, there have been many movements against the sitting governments, and
Yeah.
one factor which made the movement successful was that most of the time, rather this was a general thing, that the major challenge to the sitting government came from a new leadership.
Okay.
We can see like Mr. Bhutto came against Ayub Khan, and he was completely a new leader, and he came up with the new slogans, Roti Kapda aur Makan. Then we see that in 1977 he was challenged by PNA, Pakistan National Alliance, which consisted of many parties who never ruled the country, or any component party had ever ruled the country. So people similarly, the movement against Ziaul was fizzled out. Similarly, against Musharraf, the challenge came not from the political parties, but from lawyers and civil society. So I think, unfortunately, these all political parties who are now challenging PTI government have been tested not once but many times in the past. So therefore, I would say that the people's trust in these political parties have gone down because they fail to deliver good governance and development and progress in the last 45 years.
Yeah.
So I don't think that people are going to come out to the streets to overthrow the government. And having said that, the government has a very thin majority, and if they come together and bring in in-house change, that could happen. But as far as the street movement is concerned, people are not going after PDM at all.
Right. Let me go to Javed Sahab. Javed Sahab, in-house change. You know, we've heard talk about in-house change. It gears up, and then of course it's fueled by the fact that perhaps it's being supported by the establishment. But again, an in-house change would also mean disrupting the government at this time, and the cost of that may be no gain for any other political party.
Maruk, I really don't see any chance of a in-house change right now, because the factors which definitely should be there to support any in-house change, they are not there. PTM is totally a divided house. It is imploding. Differences between, even now, a statement or rather a tweet by the head of the alliance, Maulana Sahab, was contradicted by Hassan Iqbal over the issue of Sialkot. And we know that ideologically they are poles apart. And that is the very reason I've been talking in these shows that there is no political indoctrination as far as political parties are concerned. Now the politics is being done on any other issue rather than the political indoctrination of the cadre as well. They were talking about the 70s and Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. Those were the times when political parties had a very certain manifestos which had a lot of appeal for the people of Pakistan. Now, I think all political parties more or less have the same manifestos.
So it means sort of the same for the people also. It started to look like the same kind of bucket from which whatever draw is going to come out.
Absolutely, and you have been raising this particular point that there's disenchantment probably as far as the people are concerned. Definitely there is disenchantment, disillusionment, and people have stopped trusting the top leadership of every major political party in Pakistan, because they want their own issues to be addressed, while on the contrary they believe that the political parties are basically more concentrated and more focused on their own well-being and their own issues.
In terms of credibility, as far as the PMLN, the PPP is concerned, there has been over time, I'm not saying now, but over time, there has been so much mudslinging back and forth between both those political parties, and with the cases and overall honesty of it, accountability of it, that overall you think that there is a belief that right now, as far as, you know, the Prime Minister being at the helm of affairs, as far as honesty is concerned, credibility is concerned, you know, they may be, you know, satisfied with whoever is there at this time, for them to finish their term, and then, you know, for the people to, if they want, you know, we will maybe even see a low turnout in the next elections.
Absolutely. But I feel that the turnout is going to be very disappointing in the, I mean, let's see what happens in NA 133. But all factors are pointing towards a low turnout in 2023 general elections, because they were the last hope, the hope of the people of Pakistan, the PTI. And as Nyasa pointed out, disillusionment is definitely there as far as the performance of PTI government is concerned. Now, where should they look towards as far as the people are concerned? All other political parties tried and tested and always found to be wanting.
Do you think that the government probably has a better chance of gaining ground as far as their popularity is concerned than the opposition has, of getting the people to sort of support them and trust them because of their own past, because of their own baggage?
I think that is right, Maruk, because as you said, there's no love lost between PPP and Pakistan Muslim League, and today they have a common enemy. Tomorrow, when they are pitted against each other, same old tactics,
which is
same
what happened
old
a couple of months ago.
propaganda, and
happening.
same old negative politics would be the order of the day. I think political system basically has become really questionable, and the credibility is at the lowest right now.
Right. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for being with us, Javed Jatoon Saab. Thank you for joining us. Sarwar Bari, thank you for being with us today. Niaz Murtaza, thank you for joining us. Overall, of course, it seems like, of course, the PDM will meet tomorrow, and we will know for certain, we hope that we will know for certain what their plans are. But of course, it seems unlikely that there will be any one course of action that they will finalize in terms of, you know, whether a long march is expected or not, or what kind of any opposition, joint or not, that they are gearing to be. Let's see what happens tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining us today. See you next week.
Wow.